And so do you think that a lot of people are not thinking about them as their performance just because it's never been talked about ad nauseum, or is it because they're afraid to be in that situation? And that's why they do death by PowerPoint, which is like just a ton of text on PowerPoints and everything like that. But like, why do you think people are, well, because the number one thing is public speaking that people are afraid of, right? So do you think that
Correct.
they just,
I think there's a couple answers to that.
Yeah.
So one, I think there are people who just don't know, and they don't know because they never really focused on it. And if you focused on it, if you look at why do people not like to go to the doctor? Because if they go to the doctor's probably going to tell them something that they have to do something about themselves. If it's that you're overweight, or you need to exercise more because you have poor circulation, or you're a diabetic, you have to eat differently, or whatever it is. People don't like, I think they're resistant to having to do more than they're comfortable doing. So if you go and start looking at your performance skills, if you start video recording your presentations and performances, and then it's one thing to video record them, it's another thing to actually go back and look at them. And so when you start going back and looking at them, now you're going to see that there are things you could work on to make it even better. And so that's one group of people, I believe, are people that just don't know. And it may be because they're petrified, or they just don't want to spend the time figuring it out. And then there are others that don't know because no one has ever given them the feedback about how they perform. And so if you take somebody in a more hierarchical organization, you take someone that's pretty high in the organization, let's say it's the chief operating officer of a larger firm, and we'll say we'll call her Jane, and Jane does these presentations and performances for internal staff and external staff, and she's interested in how she's doing, and she goes to the people that work under her, for whom she's a supervisor, and she asks them how they thought she did. And are those people really going to give Jane the feedback that she needs to hear? Probably not. They're not going to say, they're going to go, "Oh, Jane, it was great. It was great." And Jane's going to go off thinking it was great. And then other friends in the organization are probably not going to give her the honest feedback that she needs to be able to advance to another level. And that's where Jane needs to go outside of her company and find someone, if they have an internal coaching program, perhaps in the organization, but someone that's not in any way reporting to her or anything like that. She needs to go outside and get somebody who will be direct and honest with her to tell her what other people see. And
that's actually, I can't remember what the phrase of that is. People who think that they are better than they really are.
Well, it was a study called the Dunning-Kruger effect.
That's right.
Yeah, and it was where people who it was done at a college, I believe, and they found that people with really weak skills will evaluate themselves and rate themselves much higher than their actual performance level skills would indicate. And then people that are just really outstanding tend to rate themselves a bit lower than their performance skills actually are. And a great example of that is we see it on like American Idol, and where someone who can't sing, and really they cannot sing, they've never been taught, never been trained appropriately, or I think everybody can sing if they spent the time to do it, but it doesn't come natural for this person. But somebody in their life has told them they're great. And they go on the show and the judges tell them that, they try to be kind usually, but then the person gets indignant and says, "But my family's told me I'm great all the time." And then it turns out that no, you're not. And so it's the first time they've been confronted with that. And you
work with, okay, go ahead.
I was just going to say, then they become really irate. And we see it on American Idol. You can see it. And they get really, really upset. Yet you get somebody like on Britain's Got Talent and Susan Boyle. And she was the middle-aged woman who wanted to sing opera, and she had a beautiful voice, but she was dressed in kind of a brown dress, and her hair wasn't fixed up, and she wasn't really wearing any makeup, and she was very, very much sort of introverted about her skills, and she looked like that, and the whole audience kind of dismissed her, like, okay. And they asked her what she was going to sing, and she said she was going to sing "I Dreamed a Dream" from Les Mis, and she sings it, and brings the house down, and it's like musical theater star quality. It was just unbelievable. And so she probably thought she would have rated herself lower than her actual abilities. So that's the Dunning-Kruger effect, and we see it a lot.
And you've worked with hundreds, if not thousands, of people. How do you bring the reality to these folks?
You know, we talk about this right at the beginning, and we talk about this thing, and so it gets people thinking about, wow, you know what? I might be told something, at least it's in their heads. I might be told something that is contrary to what I believe about myself. But so we talk about that up front. But the other way that I deal with it with clients in workshops or just even one-on-one is that I create a safe environment for them so that they don't have to worry about being judged, and they're going to get feedback, but they don't have to feel threatened by the feedback. And so we set that up at the very beginning. And one of the things that I'll do with them is I'll ask them to do a performance, and if it's a presentation of some kind, and maybe we just video record 5 minutes of it. And then I ask them, we video record it, and then I ask them to please watch it. And then they're going to watch it, and I watch it with them. And before we actually see it, I say, now I want you to, here's a piece of paper. You got a pencil, a pen. I want you to write down only the things that you like about the performance. Not interested in this run about the things you don't like. And your brain's going to be filled with things, and it probably already is filled with some things that you didn't like about the performance, things that you thought you made an error on, or you just didn't like it. I'm not interested in any of those. I'm only interested in what you liked about your performance. And so they have a little bit of trouble wrapping their head around that. And then we watch the video, and they are writing down things that they liked. And so we finish watching it, and I say, what did you like about your performance? And they'll tell me the things they've written on the sheet. And they say, I haven't written very many, maybe I got 2 or 3 things, but, because I can think of a lot more things I didn't like. And I would say, I know we're not interested in any of those. We're just interested in what you liked about it. Because here's the crazy thing, is that when people identify what they liked about the performance, and I or others in the class or the workshop confirm that those things were in fact very likable, those people, the next time they do their performance, they are more likely to emphasize and accentuate the things that people said they did well, and that they themselves acknowledge that they did well. They're much more much more likely to repeat those things that they liked, and then we're not even focused on any of the things that were less effective. So then we'll go back and do it again, and I'll say, all right, now let's talk about things that you think would make this performance even better than it was. Instead of saying, let's identify the things you didn't like, and let's identify the things that you thought you did wrong. Let's identify the things that you believe, if you could do it again, would benefit the performance to be even better the next time. So that type of strategy, in at least the people that I've worked with, tends to build trust with me that I'm not going to hurt them, and my goal is not to hurt them. And I tell them right up front, I'm with you the whole time. I'm here with you. I'm not going to let you get hurt. And we can explore this area that you've been frightened of for a long time. We're going to explore it today. And we're going to, and people seem to like it. They really like that we create a safe environment for them so that they can feel free to explore and not be perfect.
I wonder if that strategy would work with anything, right? I mean, because, whether it be athletics, whether it be about just I guess this would be an education world with what we're talking about now with family life. I mean, from a counseling perspective, I mean, it's just like put them in that safe zone and they'll talk about it, because I think people ultimately want to improve. It's just whether or not that they, I guess, feel comfortable in that setting with that exact person, especially if that person they just met and they're trying to get that trust in there. I mean, that can be a difficult thing, but I think it's powerful to put a person in that kind of setting to be like, hey, like, I want you to improve too, but we have to get you to tell me what we need to do to improve that, right? And we can clearly look at this thing. And I remember when I first started in TV, I was a photographer, and even before that, when I was in like college and was a sports anchor, I would rewatch all of my tapes, whether it was from me recording it on video, whether it was me actually on stage or on the set, whatever it might be. And I would watch it, and I would like, it would be tedious because I'd be sitting there like, I should have done this. And it wasn't me being hard on myself. It was just like, okay, you did this before, try not to make this mistake again. Right. And so if I wanted to say your name correctly, I would practice that over and over and over again. Instead of just reading it in my mind, I would actually say it out loud. And that's a huge thing that most people don't do. They also read it and not actually speak it. And then when they speak it the first time, they're like, oh, that's not what I anticipated. And so we really have to make this a formula where people speak and not just read as well.
Yep. Yeah. And you think about even when, let's say that you're talking about something that has, I mean, we know that living here in the peninsula area, we have things that are old Native American names or family names that are spelled differently than they're pronounced, or place names that are uniquely said. They're pronounced a unique way because of the people that live here, and they're not pronounced the way that they look when you're reading them. So to go and give a presentation and do a performance someplace where you're using those names, the name of the people or the place names or names of buildings or whatever, and you're mispronouncing them, well, that leaves a credibility issue in the audience's mind. They're wondering, well, if you're so good at this thing, then why did you not take the time to learn how to pronounce this name of this place where we live? And so, yeah, I'm working right now as an executive partner at the business school at William & Mary. And we have two of us are executive partners for a team of 4. And so I have a student from Nigeria, and his name is different than what it's pronounced differently than I would think it would be pronounced by just reading it. And so when we first met on video last week, it was kind of comical if we had video recorded it, but I was asking him, how do I pronounce that? And he would tell me how to pronounce it. And I must have tried it 10 times. And it turns out that at the very end of that whole thing, he said, yeah, Gary, my name goes, you keep the last vowel, you keep raising your voice on it. And it doesn't do that. It goes down on that vowel. The pitch goes down. I thought, wow. So there's a musical cadence about the language that his name comes from, where I needed to be cognizant of that, not just, and where it's a 3-syllable name, and where which syllable is actually accentuated, or which 2 are, or is one, and the accents on things are different than they are in English. So it was important to him for me to do it. And it took me seriously like 10 times that I kept trying to say it. And he was like, it's close, try it again. And so but when you take the time to do those kinds of things, then I believe people trust you, because you've actually taken an interest in them and learning something that's valuable to them. As I said before, for most people, your most favorite word is your name. And if whether it's how to pronounce it, or if you don't ever use it. So Tim, you and I we go back many years. And if I somehow never called you Tim and just kept forgetting what your name was, then you think that's really weird because, I thought we were either business colleagues or I thought we were friends. And Gary's not even saying my name right. So that's strange. Like, why would that happen? And I guess my understanding of the relationship is different. So even with that, we can see how much gets read into this whole communication thing. How effective are you at it?
Yeah.